This episode is brought to you by Training House. Visit traininghouse.shop. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of a podcast where James Bale sits down to have a nice conversation with his good friend Tim Ford about triathlon. It is Talking Triathlon. I am the good friend Tim Ford. That is my other good friend James Bale. Jimbo, how you going, mate?
Yeah, I'm banging, mate, to be honest. I really am. I think we've got a hell of a lot to talk about this episode. I love it when there's actually stuff going on in the sport and we can sit down and digest it all one by bit. So yeah, I'm raring to go. How are you, mate?
I'm doing really well, and I think you're right because this is one of those weeks where we actually had to stop ourselves because we've been talking for about 15 minutes now before we actually recorded, and we kept going, no, stop, we need to talk this. Like, we were so
Yeah.
excited to talk about some of this stuff that we've already had a few little chats. But no, all good here, mate. Interestingly, I mean, I am in the final stages of preparing for a marathon. I've got a marathon in literally less than a month now. I think it's 3 weeks or something till this marathon, and the training is a little bit grim. And I don't know if you've ever done this, mate, but on the weekend I did three pretty big days of training. I did a Friday, I did a 5K swim, a 21K run. Saturday, I did a 110K ride with like 5 times 20-minute efforts and then a 10-minute max effort. And then Sunday, I did a 27K run and a 2K swim. And mate, I was fucked. Like I got to Sunday night and I was almost a bit delirious. And then on Monday I woke up and it was like my stomach wasn't upset, but my stomach was like sore almost. And
Okay.
I could almost not eat for 24 hours. I could eat, but I just didn't have an appetite. And the closest thing I can remember is when I absolutely whooped your butt in Bahrain 70.3 a few years ago, where I pushed myself to the absolute limit. And I just couldn't, like my body had just like gone, no, we're done. This is it.
Yeah, yeah.
Took me like it's Thursday now, and I'm only finally starting to feel human again. I'm like, wow, that was a shock to the
Have you
system.
trained since?
Yeah. I've been doing training the last couple of
Yeah.
days. It's certainly felt like a bit of a slog, but
What
man.
what's the goal pace time for the marathon?
So I would like to try to hold. I want to go into 3 hours. So how far under, I'm not sure. I mean, if I could do a 250 marathon, something like that, I think it'd be absolutely amazing. I'm aiming to hold just under 4 minute pace, I think would be ideal. And I did get the boon. One of my very, very good friends who is an exceptional runner himself. He's won many ultras, he's won many marathons, to be honest. He's the guy that got me to triathlon. His name's Rob Woolley. He's also doing the marathon, and he said to me, because he didn't know I was doing it. And he said, "Are you doing it?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, mate, why don't we run it together?" I said, "Rob, mate, like, come on, mate. Again, I will be running, but I'm not going to be running a sub 230 marathon in my wildest dreams." He said,
Oh, is he a 2:30 marathoner, is he?
"Sub 230, like yeah, good runner." And
Yeah.
and he's like, "Nah, bugger it. I'm going to pace you to a sub 3 hour marathon." I was like, as long as it's
Nice.
not like a sub 230 marathon,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm very much up for this. But he's one of those guys, that if I told him, okay, let's run 4 minute pace, he just runs it. Like, doesn't need to check that. He just knows. So I actually have a lot of confidence knowing that if I say, okay, mate, let's go at a 4 minute pace and see how we go, and I just sit next to him, we'll run that pace. So that's something I'm a bit more
That's
excited
handy.
about.
That's handy.
Yeah, it'll be good. So yeah, no, that it just I was like, man, getting old sucks a little bit, I guess, if that's what it is. But no, numbers are good. Everything's the numbers I'm pushing are good, feeling quite good. Even fatigue this week, I'm training pretty well. So it's
Glad to hear it, mate.
yeah,
Bring that sub three home, eh?
that's the goal. Actually doing a half marathon this weekend too, which I'm quite looking forward to. Just going out and having a bit of a no expectations crack.
What do you want to see? A nice 120, a comfortable 120.
Yeah, I'd love it. Again, I aim will always be to go under 80. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Again, I feel like I'm running better than I've ever run. So just I don't know that race sharpness because I haven't done that many races in recent times. But yeah, hopefully got
fair enough.
one of our new patrons is joining me for the run this Sunday. So
Nice.
yeah, it'll be good. But speaking of patrons, if you guys want to be a patron, head to patreon.com/talking triathlon. I cannot emphasize this enough that WhatsApp group was on absolute fire over the weekend with Ironman Frankfurt, with
It really
Supertri.
was. It
I had
really
to,
was.
because Supertri was Monday morning, like 2:30 a.m. Sydney time. I had to not check it because I wanted to sit, like, literally I woke up at 6 a.m. straight to my TV, put the Supertri on to watch it without spoilers. And the way the group, there was like 300 messages or something that I just was like, nope. And it just kept buzzing the whole time. I was sitting there watching this
You
race.
actually have it on Buzz.
No, no,
I
no,
have it
no,
on
no, no, I
archive.
don't have it on buzz, but as in it kept, I do get the pop-ups. It doesn't buzz, but I get
Okay.
the pop-ups. So my screen just kept lighting up. I was like, nope. Had to turn my phone
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
So uh, I think that as we get into the business end of the season now, if you want to have some people to really, and again, I'm not just talking like it's really sophisticated and interesting conversation. I mean, I did feel a bit sorry for you guys all talking about the cycling stuff this week. Obviously, being the biggest cycling fan in the world, I find your level of discussion a little bit lowbrow for me. But yeah, if you guys want to obviously engage with a whole bunch of people having
Yeah, yeah.
interesting conversations, it's
There
a
are
it's
some
always a
very knowledgeable people in there, and it's handy.
it is. So patreon.com/talking triathlon. James, let's get right into it. I want to start with a little race that happened in Germany over the weekend. Yeah, mate. I mean, you sort of said it. You found the whole thing a little bit strange.
Yeah, I found it a bit strange. Like, the problem with fields like this, as we discussed last week, is yeah, you got the depth. You've got loads and loads of athletes competing. But the problem with that in a race like this is you just get these kind of quite low ranked PTO athletes sort of signing up and you've never heard of them and they come up and they do fine. You've
Not
got,
even
I don't know,
prepared properly, I don't think. Like a lot of them
not
just
even
don't seem
prepared
to,
properly. You've
committed
got
the
like
training.
82 rank there and 58 rank there, PTO athlete. And then there was even as lowly a ranked as 233rd ranked PTO athlete on their men's ranking, just rocked up and thought he could have a go at this race. He only went and fucking won it, didn't he?
He did, didn't he? So much for
He
uh,
fucking
so much for
did.
validating.
So much for validating. And I don't think I've ever been so wrong. Because I said with confidence last week that there's no there's no chance Blumenfelt will be on form. He will just go through the motions and do his thing. Jesus Christ, did he prove me wrong? He rocked up and he won it in 7:27:21 with a 46:06 swim, a 4:03:14 bike, and a 2:32:29 marathon, which was very much almost a sub 2:30 marathon. Now, I couldn't quite get, because I wasn't watching the broadcast, but I was using the WhatsApp group to keep abreast. And I kept saying to people, fucking hell, give me some updates. Um, I couldn't quite tell, because I wasn't watching the end, whether if he hadn't stopped to high five people down the finish chute, whether if he'd really pushed as hard as he could have got that 2:30, or was it gone and he was just like, I'll stop and high five some people.
It's an interesting place to start because I don't think the people commentating or broadcasting the race knew either. Because and again, I'm not sure what happened here. Because from what they were saying, and I'll talk about that later, and from what the timer was saying, it seemed like he was on track for a sub 2:30 marathon. And
It looked
then,
like it from the tracker, yeah.
but then I don't know, like, because I think the final check was like 31.8K, or 31.6K. So let's say 6 to 400 meters left of the run, and he was under, I believe. Yet he finished almost 2 minutes over. And yes, he definitely slowed down through the finish shoot. I think at that point the 2:30 had probably passed. He
Yeah, that's what I
realized
mean.
that. Whereas, sort of watching, you were like, why is he doing this?
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah, because I got that from the messages that were coming in. It was like, he's gonna do it. He's gonna do it. He's got this long left to do 400 meters. And I was like, fucking no, he's gonna do it. And then everybody was like, oh, he stopped to high five people. I was like, mate, stop it. Don't stop and high five people.
So yeah, I think probably on his timer, which I'm guessing is a lot more accurate than whatever was going on with the Ironman ones, he'd already seen that 2:30 stop pass over. So, but yeah, like to me it was pretty confusing, right? I think that it has shown what is a fundamental issue we seem to have with, and again, I think that the PTO and those more broadcast dedicated series have done their timing's a lot better. This is like the Christians using the same timing system that the amateurs are using, right? Like it is not one geared towards, I guess, a broadcast. I honestly, I don't know what the fuck happened because I was watching it again. I was actually watching a movie you've been going on about me watching for a long time. I watched Aliens for the first time of the weekend, masterpiece. But I turned it off because I thought, shit, he could actually break 2:30. I was so curious to see what happened. And again, I'll talk about the reasons I wasn't watching the race later. Uh, but mate, I think that it just I mean, there's obviously been a lot of conversations around Christian's performance, uh, because he did literally race the Olympics less than 2 weeks previous and has been quite vocal about the fact that he has not specifically prepared for this race at all. And I mean, I sort of put this in the WhatsApp group, but I think that there are a lot of long course pros out there who maybe are starting to have nightmares about what might happen on the Big Island this year if that's what an unprepared Kristian Blummenfelt looks like.
I
Uh,
don't know.
I
Because
don't.
I mean, the race was playing out fairly normally, swim, bike, and Blumenfelt, he was third into T2 and he was 4:51 behind the leader. So it was like, right, is he going to be able to perform on the run? And that was, in my opinion, that was going to be the differentiator because he's, what is he, 2 weeks after sort of coming out of Paris and transitioning from short course and all that build up to doing that short course racing. And I was like, yeah, okay, so what he's going to do now in my head is just kind of not jog a marathon, but have a very strong marathon, but not be in the reckoning because he's not got that long course firepower on the run. But he just went up through the gears, didn't he?
Well, he did
I
it so
mean,
quickly. People thought he was going to capitulate. Everyone was going, "Is he going to
yeah,
hold this? He's
exactly.
going to blow. He's going to blow. He's going to blow." And he did what Christian does. I mean, with the exception of some cramps we've seen him have in races, it's very uncommon for him to actually blow up, right? Like this is I think
Yeah, he ain't Jonas Schomburg. He's normally working within a manageable tolerance of what he can achieve. We haven't seen, like you say, those cramps. I can't remember what race that was now, but it
he's
was a
cramped in
T100.
Milwaukee. He
Yeah,
cramped in I know Edmonton, that PTO race in Edmonton, and he cramped somewhere else. But like I think that what you have to we have to view Christian and Gustav, I suppose, through a different lens here because these guys do test to an obscene amount, and I think that they are so on top of their zones and their capabilities that there's no guesswork, I suppose. Like Christian probably knew, like you can see him checking his watch a lot, right? He knows his paces back to front. He knows, he probably knew that he was pushing it a bit at certain paces and things like that. So yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me is look, I genuinely don't think that they went into that. I don't think he went into this. Like people saying, oh, he's actually not been preparing for the Olympics. It's been about Ironman the whole time. No, no. I think that the way the Norwegians approach triathlon is that they do a large volume. I think a lot of people don't realize the amount of volume short course athletes do. Like some of the guys I work with who are
yeah,
short
agreed.
course are training 35 hours a week, as is. Uh, I do think this was an unprepared Kristian Blummenfelt. And I think the most obvious way we saw that it was an unprepared Kristian Blummenfelt was the bike. Because normally, like even in Kona in 2022, the last time we saw him on an Ironman start list, him and Gustav rode through the field to Sam Laidler, who was breaking the course record. Like they were right up there. This one, he was in that pack. He was in that pack. Christian Hogenhard got away. By the way, Christian Hogenhard had a 357 bike split, including a crash. Fucking wow. Like, I don't think that's
Yeah.
getting the, I mean, maybe he paid for it on the run. I'm not sure. But I think that's where we saw Christian. Maybe that's the thing that he was lacking was that ability to
Yeah,
really ride the 180K on the TT position.
absolutely. And when I say the race was unfolding normally to begin with, I meant normally for an
For
athlete
either
like
one.
Blumenfeld who'd come out of short course, and the
Mm.
normally is the way I'd expect it to play out in this
Yeah,
race.
yeah.
And then suddenly he went into hyperdrive, and I think that form that he found on the run probably surprised him.
Mm.
Because we all know that feeling where you're going too hard. And he was probably like, well, I'm quite comfortable. I'm quite comfortable. I'm quite comfortable. And just kept going up through the gears. And he even had time to stop and use the toilet.
He's done that a few times, hasn't he? He did that in
Yeah.
Cozumel as well when he set the record, I think. And again, I still think that's the current Ironman world record. Come at me. But look, the thing for me about this is an unprepared Christian Blumenfeld, or as unprepared as he ever is for anything in it. And I think that that's what's going to start keeping some of the other pros up at night is thinking, well, fuck me. If this is what he's doing unprepared, what the hell is he going to be
Yeah.
doing prepared?
2:32. I mean, there are athletes out there that are happy that they can run a sort of 2:40, a 2:38. That's their kind of like, right, I'm finally in the mix. If Christian Blumenfeld's running a 2:32, he's in the same league as Patrick Lang.
He's
He's in that
fucking.
conversation.
I mean, to me, he always has been, right? Like I always think that Christian he is that runner that is like, we've said this a lot. And I guess the weird situation we have at the moment is We didn't really see many athletes transition post Tokyo. Like really, if you actually think about it, not many at all, because we had some who started to dabble, and we had Christian Gustav who did, but sort of with one foot in, one foot out. Martin Van Riel sort of balanced it. And then we had athletes that I probably expected to, but didn't, like a Vincent Louis. And like we didn't see that transition. I think we're about to see that transition. I know, and I know I go on about this and I know people don't like it, but like I really think that this is what we're going to see, because we have seen, you're right. It used to be shit. If you can run a low 240 marathon, excellent. Now it's sort of gone, you need to be running a high 230s. I even think that ain't good enough now. I think we're going to get to the point where for these really stacked races, if you're not running a sub 235 minimum, you ain't winning the race.
With a good swim and a fucking good bike.
Well, this is something I do, because we will go through the full results. I don't just want to gush over Kristian the whole time, but I think what we are also really seeing it, and again, it goes in ebbs and flows, but you see it is, if you are like, and again, let's the Sam Long, who we will talk about, the Joe Skippers, the Patrick Langs in this situations, the Lionel Sanders, those guys who are the they're not even in that, that first chase back. These guys who are sort of 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 minutes back in the swim, it's game over, mate. Like the way the races are unfolding at the moment, if you are not able, like, you know what, if you're a pro who is racing Kona, and you're thinking, shit, I'm going to be 6 minutes plus down out of the water, don't come. Like, don't
Yeah.
bother going,
You're going to
because
be burning some serious matches to get back on that bike, and then
you won't get back
you've
on the
got
bike though.
athletes at the front who are going to get off the bike and run times that you can on your best day can only imagine.
Yeah, I really, I mean, I just feel like, we saw we've seen, like, there's so, how do I want to, the interesting thing with this year has been that we've seen athletes do more than they've ever done. And with the exception of maybe a Cat Matthews, who I think is the one athlete in particular who has done an excellent job of balancing everything. Every other athlete we've seen trying to do everything, there's cracks. Every single, you show me an athlete who isn't showing cracks, that's doing all this different stuff, right? Like, we've had Patrick Lang come here, and what was Patrick Lang, like sixth or something, but he was minutes back. You had Sam Long had that excellent start to the season, 22nd, miles back. Like, there's Matt Hansen, who's leading the fucking series, miles back. That Braden Curry, who came here, we'll talk about Braden Curry's penalty thing, fucking miles back, like 20 minutes back or something. Like, it's there's no Trevor Foley, one Ironman Lake Placid, didn't finish the race. It's all over the place. Like, it's
Yeah, I
actually
mean,
all over the
just got to look
place.
at Patrick Lang's time. I mean, he lost over 3 minutes in the swim. He lost 4 minutes on the bike, and then he lost time on the run, and he ended up sort of 11, 12 minutes back on the winner.
Yeah, and then
It's
and I mean, I said this to you. I've said this also. Like, one of the things, that's not a criticism of the process. Maybe it is. I'm not sure. People might like it because it means that we're having. You can't really, the rule book that which we predict what's going to happen is sort of out the window. But if you look at and I'm more specifically talking about the Ironman races this year. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but every single one of the Ironman Pro Series races, with the exception in the men's, not the women's, has had a different winner. We haven't had the same winner of more than one of these races yet. Correct?
I think so.
I think so. And not only that, a lot of these winners are people I've never, no disrespect, I've never heard of. And you take Kristian out of this race, the winner, the guy who came second, Kieran was his last name? Lendls?
Lindars.
Never heard of him before. Like, and then again, Vittorio Gastes, the Spanish guy, one never heard of him before. Old mate Dopey McGee from Ironman Texas, I'd never heard of him before. Like, there is this. I mean, Matt Burton in Australia, I obviously had heard of him because I'm Australian and Berto's a legend. But like, literally, you look at this thing, and it is not how I predicted it going at all.
No.
And I mean, like I said, there's a case to say this is a positive, and there's a case to say this is a negative. I'm very curious to see what Kona looks like in terms of who's coming actually fresh, because I don't think many of these athletes are used to racing as many Ironmans in the year as they have been.
Oh, it's going to be a really exciting Kona this year. Just even if it's not on the day in the race in the moment, it's going to be the build up and the chat beforehand is going to be exceptional.
Do
And
you think
then just watching it play out on the day will be.
well, based on what happened on the weekend, does he go in as the favorite? Is this Christian's race to lose now?
Oh, that's an early call.
I know, I
Is
love
it
it.
an early call? I don't know.
I'll make it. I think so.
Fuck me,
I
man.
think so.
I have given up doubting this man now. I think he's, but then yeah. Oh, who knows? We should know.
There's
I
three
don't know.
people. There's three people I think at the moment. There's three people I think that could legitimately win Kona with a fourth fucking wild card. Kristian Blummenfelt, Magnus Ditlev, Sam Laidlow, with the wild card being Gustav Iden. I don't know what the fuck is going on with Gustav. I don't know how his injury is progressing. I don't know where he's
I
at. He could,
tend to agree with that as well.
there
I
to
tend
me.
to agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, we got to give a massive shout out to Kieran Lindars, who came second.
Let's go through the
Um,
results.
Yeah, okay. Bear with me. I've got them right here. So Kristian Blummenfelt won the race in 7:27:21. Kieran Lindaz came second in 7:32:14. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing your surname. Gregory Barnaby came third in
Great
7:33:44.
result for him.
Christian Hogenhaar came fourth in 7:35:32. And Menno Koolhaas came fifth in 7:35:51, with notable name Patrick Lang in eighth, Bradley Weiss in 11th, Matt Hansen in 14th. And then he just descends down. Sam Long came 22nd, Braden Curry 25th. And then
Miles
I kind
off.
of
Like
run out of enthusiasm for the rest of
miles
them. But
off.
yeah. Oh,
Now,
totally. I mean,
yeah.
Sam Long
Yes.
finishing in
Let's
7:51:25, so a good way down. He had a 53:02 swim compared to Christian's 46:06. And then he did a 4:09:05 on the bike, which, wasn't as quick as the leaders. And then he ran a 2:44:04. So none of that is comparable.
yeah. I mean,
And you're giving yourself a deficit immediately. Worrying times.
it, the Sam, I mean, look, I'm not surprised by Sam. We said it last week. And again, I saw Sam come out and basically say he's got his reason for doing it. Mate, kudos to you. Like I said, any start list that has Sam Long on it, I'm excited for.
Oh,
I
yeah,
think
same.
I think Sam is such a fucking positive force in that sport. I'm a huge Sam Long fan. I didn't expect him to be in the mix in this race, to be honest. And again, it's not a personal thing. It's just he does seem to have this weird issue with Ironman distance. And it doesn't seem to be. I don't understand. Like something has happened this year with Sam Long because he was so good at the start, like so strong, and then he took that break, and then things have started to go pear shaped. He was going to do Cairns to get kind of slot, didn't. San Francisco went badly, took the gap, went to London, was bad. Come here has been bad. Again, I think it's just this is sort of what we talk about when we see the dynamic of the year. Patrick Lang as well, mate. Like I honestly. I have no like this is a guy that we know doesn't really like to do a lot of Ironman. Like he is one of those athletes that it's all about world championships. I've spoken to Patrick Lang in the past. He said that that's how he measures success, world championships. He rocked up in Nice, brought the goods, if the course was a bit longer, he probably would have won the thing. Didn't. Obviously Sam Laidlow won. Well done, Sam. But he's done how many Iron? He's done Texas. He started Roth. He did this. It's a lot for a guy like Pat, and he's done 100 million 70.3s.
Yeah, so far he's done 70.3 Oceanside, Ironman Texas, 70.3 Mallorca, Challenge Roth, and then Frankfurt. So heavy racing this year. So far we've seen Oceanside 16th, Texas 2nd, Mallorca 17th, Roth DNF, Frankfurt 8th. So, I mean, out of all those races, 2 top 10 finishes, 1 podium.
Yeah. So it's it's a weird time, but like I said, if it is bringing us these weird performances, these weird unpredictable results, I kind of do dig it. So yeah, all for it.
Bloomy, you fucking legend.
Yeah, it's good,
I
isn't
love
it?
it.
I love
I
it
love
too.
it. I'm
I've
here for it.
like the thing there as well that there's. I mean, this has been one of the things that's been taking up a lot of time in the WhatsApp group this week has been about this idea of Christian trying to win the Tour de France. Fuck, I hope he doesn't even bother. Like, please don't go. Like, come on,
Yeah.
just stay here, Christian. Just stay and do this for us,
Yeah,
mate.
I mean, I don't know whether it's just to create a bit of noise, to get a bit of, but my fear there is that he would go and have several years trying to be a pro cyclist, to be in that peloton. I'm sure he's got the engine to be in the peloton somewhere, but there are a multitude of other skills that need to be learnt before you become a professional cyclist, or learn quickly so that you don't just get spat out of the back of the group or constantly crash or be able to descend, or just all the dynamics, the skills in the peloton. And I worry that he would waste time doing that and then realize it was a dead end, and then come back to triathlon and missed his window to truly dominate the sport. I think he's got years of brilliance ahead of him in triathlon. And
I'm about to do something that I know you don't like, so I need you just to take a deep breath, embrace it, James. This is happening. I'm here next to you, mate. It's a safe space. Don't worry, okay?
so
I'm asking you to
take my hand.
speculate. I'm asking you to speculate a little bit now. So, what you have explained is my fear too, is that he may sacrifice some of the years in his prime where he could potentially rock up, win everything, 70.3 worlds, Kona, Nice, whatever it is, and he doesn't. And then he comes back and I have no doubt even if he went over a few years, he'd come back and win a few. Do you think the experience of Gustav, who I also think post Kona 2022 could have won Nice, would probably be going into this year as a favorite without that injury that he's had that's really, direct. I mean, obviously Gustav had some real personal things happen that are really unfortunate to him. But do you think that his experience of sacrificing that year and things sort of going pear-shaped would impact Kristian a little? Like, do you think he would see that and go, fuck, well, this happened to Gustav? And while I love the fact that Gustav went, fuck it, I want to chase my dream. Like, I could just win 100 of these if I wanted to. Like, do you think that would impact Kristian maybe positively or negatively? Or do you think that's their mindset? Like, that learning experience, because we know how close those two are.
No, I don't think so. I think when you see something like that happening to somebody, the only time it affects you is when you're not close to that person enough to understand the reasons behind it. I think if something's happening to somebody that you're close to and can communicate with, and they can give you their rationale and their reasons, you understand their journey and what's happened, then it's harder to just blindly apply that to yourself.
Mm. Sorry, I'm just taking a note for time codes. Yeah.
Whereas if something's happening to somebody that you don't know, you don't communicate, it's easy to project your own journey onto them and say, well, that's happening to them. And so therefore the reasons for it must be the same things that I'm going through, and therefore it's going to happen to me.
Yeah. Well, all I'll say is, Kristian, don't do it, mate. Please, just stay here. Just stay in triathlon. It's good. And again, I do also think it does show this problem that the sport has where the memories are very, very short, right? Where people are like, oh, the Norwegian method was broken. Oh, the Norwegians are, and then he's like, no, still here, never left. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good to see. These guys are very, very good at
Kristian
triathlon.
Blummenfelt's PTO page, 2024, one race, Ironman Frankfurt, won it, 7:27:21.
Boom. I think
Mic
there could be
drop.
a few more this year. I know he's racing Challenge Samarkand in a few weeks in Uzbekistan. So I guess we'll have another result to add to his list then. Now, James, let's move on, and we're going to talk about this week's sponsor, which is, of course, as always, Training House. Now, they've got a new link this week. I've always been saying it's traininghouseshop.com. It is now traininghouse.shop is the new link. Now, we were
Oof.
going through there, James, as we do every week. We love to talk about the reason we like to work with a brand like Training House. And I mean, it's much of the muchness, much of the same, right? Like, I appreciate the fact that throughout my marathon training that I've been doing at the moment, I've been able to really start to tailor a program or a nutrition strategy based around trying different products. I haven't just had to go, I've bought, 100 Mortons, or I've bought 100 Goos or whatever, and I'm stuck with it. I mean, I have throughout my sporting journey changed nutrition many, many times to try to find the right one that works for me. And I think that while I've worked out things that work for me traditionally, I do also like to try different things as well to make sure that I am using the thing that's best for me. And traininghouse.shop gives me the ability to do that, to constantly try bits and pieces without having to like fully commit to ordering a whole heap
Yeah.
of the sort of thing I don't like.
And flexibility to order a small amount or a large amount, because as you know, I'm going to Prague this weekend and I'm flying Ryanair, mate, which I don't know whether you've heard of Ryanair.
I'm aware of Ryanair. I've flown
You're aware
Ryanair
of
many
Ryanair.
times.
They charge you for everything. They charge you for every gram you're taking on that plane. So I contacted my Airbnb host in Prague and they agreed for me to send a package. So I've ordered some stuff ahead. I've got some stuff turning up for me there for my long runs this weekend. So I don't have to take it on the plane and I don't get penalized or have to worry about that liquid 50 ml liquid rule that seems to be everywhere.
So yeah, it's extremely convenient. I think this is the model we're seeing more and more come up, and I think it's here to stay. So if you would like to support the company that is supporting us, please do head to traininghouse.shop, check out what they've got, order what you need. If you want something that isn't there, let them know and they will do what they can to get it. So thank you guys for sponsoring this week's episode. Jimbo, the next thing we have to talk about is an announcement that came out of the blue a little bit this week. This is something we were anticipating happening later in the year, but it has happened a bit sooner than any of us really expected. And that is the announcement of one of the greatest athletes of all time to do the sport announcing her retirement.
And I have the statement here. So yeah, earlier in the week, 3 days ago, at the time of recording, Daniela Ryf put out a statement on her Instagram. She said, "Unfortunately, I have to announce that I'm retiring early and won't be able to do any more races this year. My doctors have discovered the cause of the pain in my what?
Go on then. Let's hear it.
In my COCCYX. Is that
Coccyx?
coccyx, yeah.
Yep.
The diagnosis is an inflammation at the end of the spinal cord. I've been treating it with the hope of being able to race again towards the end of the year. We tried everything to recover, but the treatment hasn't been as effective as we'd hoped. It's time to respect the signs my body has been giving me. I have regained solid fitness, but the injury prevents me from training the volume intensity I need to get back to the top level. This year, my goal was to give it all one more time. The outcome is not what I hoped for, but knowing that we tried, everything makes me feel at ease. I'm grateful for what I've achieved over the years and the incredible support, performances my body has delivered. I'm beyond thankful for my team, especially my coach, my girlfriend, and my friends and family for their support. I'm grateful to my partners who've stood by my side, and I'm excited for our projects next year. Letting go of the goals I've set for myself is hard and something I've never had to do before. This is why I've been struggling to make this decision. But my coach, my doctor, and I have decided it's the right thing to do for my long-term health. It's time to take it easier and enjoy life more. I look forward to the next chapter, even if it hurts to let go. I'll be in Nice on the sidelines to celebrate triathlon with all of you. Last but not least, thank you to my fans for all of the love, cheering, and support I felt throughout my career. Heart emoji. I will cherish this crazy journey forever. Don't be sad it's over. Be happy that it happened." Statement over.
I mean, I would stand up and give her a round of applause if I wasn't worried about pulling the microphone and the headphones out of their jacks. But
Yeah. I mean, what a career. I'm just scrolling down through her PTO results page, and it's just red one after red one after red one. It just, for example, in 2014, she won Ironman Switzerland. So she won Ironman 70.3 Switzerland. She won Ironman Switzerland. She won 70.3 Wells Bannon. She won Ironman Copenhagen. She won the Ironman 70.3 World Championships, and she was second in Hawaii. 2015, she did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 races, including the Ironman 70.3 World Championships and including Hawaii, and she won every single one of them.
Mate, do you remember that period? Like I really remember that.
Yeah.
I really vividly remember that 2014 race where Rinny ran her down, right? Rinny, I think that's the year she came second, and Rinny outran Danny. And because that was Danny's first Ironman Hawaii, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And going
Absolutely.
like and thinking, oh, okay. And then next year she just came. I was like, you fucking what? And just absolutely went to town. And the thing I love about Daniela Ryf is that she isn't infallible. Like there have been throughout her career, right? Those performances that, I still remember 2016 70.3 Worlds, expecting her to absolutely just walk away with the thing.
Fourth place.
Holly Lawrence winning it. But the thing I remember is truly one of the most emotional things I've experienced spectating this sport. And I mean, I talked about the Olympics being a really emotional experience for me. But I can't not think about that 2021 Ironman World Championships in St. George that happened in 2022, and seeing Daniela Ryf win that race and the emotion that I felt that I didn't expect. I didn't expect to be moved the way that I was. And I know you felt the same thing too, but like that was to me something that that feeling I'll probably never forget, because it was true. It was just emotion. And she has been there for so many of the absolute highlights I've had as a fan of this sport. Like she has
Yeah.
brought me so much joy as a spectator. And
Same.
I mean,
And other things I can mention, like 2019 Alpe d'Huez long course, where I was racing and we started sort of basically next to each other at the start. And then she won, but she was also like third fucking overall.
yeah, I remember that
And
too,
it was
actually.
just
Yeah.
remarkable,
Mm.
And you're like, oh my God, how good are you at this shit?
I mean, I
And
put
she
the
rode a time trial bike up Alpe d'Huez. Whatever.
yeah, just as you do,
Whatever.
man. Just absolute beast. I'm not surprised that this came because her season has been rocky. I think is the right way to put it this year, and I would rather her just pull up stumps and say, okay, we're done,
Yeah.
rather than continue to try to limp through it. I don't think she has anything to prove. She's proved everything. To me, she will. If you were to look at, she is definitely one of the greatest of all time. That's a much deeper question as to whether she is or not. But I think in terms of long course, I'd say it's pretty hard. There's only one or two people I think that, or maybe three or four that
Yeah.
could
I mean,
really
certainly in the modern era, looking at this results page, it's
ridiculous.
diabolical, mate. Yeah, it's ridiculous. You're just scrolling through it. I mean, like you say, this year she's only done for two races, Miami T100 and Ironman South Africa, a fifth and an eighth. But, you know, it's not like it's been a dramatic sort of long drawn out retirement. Last year she won Challenge WOF. She won Ironman
Broke the world
70.3
record. Yeah.
Switzerland. Broke the world record, yeah, exactly. And like you say, the year before that, she won the St. George World Championships in front of us both and made us both cry.
Mm.
Like amazing. She's had an amazing career, an astounding career.
Yeah. So congratulations, Daniela Ryf. It's rough. We lost Jan Frodeno and Daniela Ryf in within 12 months of each other. To me that they've been for such a long time that I've been a fan of the sport, the two pinnacles. And yeah, I guess we
Yeah.
are getting old, mate. So, but I mean, there's so many, I think that the reason the sport is in the position it is at the moment is because of Daniela Ryf. She has forever changed the sport. The level has been risen so much because of what she's done. Which is really exciting. But I wanted to also just talk about some practicalities around her retirement, namely with the T100 and the fact that she's obviously not going to be competing in any more of their races. Now, I know you don't know, but do you think that we're going to see them just offer some more wild cards, or do you think that they might try to go out there and maybe offer another half-season contract to somebody to fill in that spot for the remainder of the year?
I would assume they would look at whoever the most consistent wild card is that they've had so far and give them another half season spot as long as that athlete behind the scenes was agreed to race those races and was saying, yeah, I'm willing to come to these races, because it just means that you're not constantly looking for somebody. Obviously, if there's nobody out there who's in that position and willing to commit to those races, then they might oh Jesus Christ, they might just award an extra wild card each race, because I'm sure that is doable.
Because we have the the Olympic contracts coming into effect now. So Flora Duffy, Taylor Spivey, Taylor Knibb all coming in.
Yeah.
I'd love to see them give it to Sophie Caldwell just because I think she showed promise in London, and I'd like to see her. I mean, there's others. Maya Kima, give Maya a T100 contract.
Yeah, yeah.
I'd love to see that
That would be
actually.
cool. That would be cool.
Yeah, but again, just congratulations, Daniela Ryf. Well done. Didn't want to
Oh,
take the thing away too much, but
no.
the next thing, James, there was again a little race, and I think little is the correct term to use because it was very short. That happened in Boston in the US of A over the weekend, and that was Supertri's first round of the 2024 championship season started, and boy, were there some fireworks.
There were, weren't there? Now, I didn't watch all of these races.
I
I
did.
was kind of in and out because I was fairly busy, but I know that you have watched. So tell me, should we want to start with the men's or the women's?
Start with the women's because there's plenty to say about that men's race, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, go on then. Take us through it, Mr. Ford. You were there.
Well, again, I think we saw is it the enduro, the back to back to back, the three
Yeah.
triathlons one after another,
Swim, back, run, wasn't it?
and going
I
into
like
this,
that
yeah, I do too. There's nowhere to hide. Like
one.
and I mean,
Whenever they, sorry to interrupt you. I know you're about to launch into
go
your
for it.
amazing
Yeah, go
monologue,
go go.
but whenever they do that race, I have your voice in my head in, where was it, Jersey or no, Singapore,
Singapore.
telling me how hideous it was when you had to jump in to do
Ah,
your second swim.
yeah,
That's what it always goes back to. I'm just
mate,
like, I remember Tim telling me how grim that was.
I still remember like that one in Singapore was because that was bad enough, but I remember going to Ottawa where I did another Super League race years ago, 2019, and like literally. having to like running down after transitioning from the run to get ready for the swim and running down to the water and getting to the water and like without even my body just was like stopped and went. I had to stop and like compose myself before I dived in the water. Like completely involuntarily, my body was just like, "No, we remember this from last time. This is not good. Like, stop it for a second." But yeah, so how we saw a pretty. I mean, to be honest, it was a group of women sort of got ahead and sort of stayed ahead most of the day. And the main three or four really were Georgia Taylor Brown, Kate Woff, Jean Leher, who finishes that podium. But like it was fascinating to
And
see.
Spivey was up there as well, wasn't she, on the final stage?
Interestingly, yeah, she got up there on the final stage, but to the start, like to the first bit, she wasn't really featuring, right? And again, she came up, but some things that I found interesting because again, I don't, they swam, they biked, they ran. Kate Woff was, made an attack on the bike on the second one. Georgia and she, led the thing. Georgia sort of attacked the run on the first one, but going into this season this year, one of the things I was interested about is with the increased focus on the team dynamics and how we were going to see it sort of play out. And I think we actually saw some really interesting team dynamics because the swim, Victoria Lopez, I think it was, who was for, is it Podium Racing? The white guys, the Tim Don's team, I think it's Podium Racing. Absolutely fucking drilled that swim, mate, to get that, get that short shoot. And then you saw real hustle to get those short shoots. I think there was who had one? I think everybody. So we had Podium Racing got one, Bahrain, what are they? Crown Racing got one, and was it Brownlee Racing got one, or was it Stars and Stripes got one? All three of them got one. One didn't. I can't remember. But well, there was a point, and I believe it was on the last round where it was Jean Leher, Taylor Spivey, Kate Woff, and Georgia Taylor Brown riding together, and you literally saw Georgia and Kate look at each other and fucking go. Like there was this calculated team attack, and that attack it ultimately didn't lead to Jean Leher falling back, but it eliminated Taylor Spivey. Taylor Spivey got dropped, tried to get back up, sort of got close, but out of contention for the podium for the rest of the day. We'll talk about it a bit in the men's, but there really did seem to be some team dynamics happening in this race, and I loved it. Like I found the whole thing super exciting. George Taylor Brown, is so good at this distance. Kate Woff, reigning champion, so good at this distance. Jean Leher, really good at this distance, and I just enjoyed the whole thing. What I didn't enjoy, or what I guess contrasts a lot to the men's race, is the two athletes that I thought would feature a bit more were completely MIA, which was Cassandra Beaugrand and Beth Potter. And Chris Macca made the choice of giving the short shoot to Cassandra, I think expecting her to probably make up a few places to get more points. She got off the bike in ninth.
Kind of based on what we saw in the mixed team relay kind of thing,
Yeah, she got off the bike in ninth, finished in ninth, so it was a waste. Jean Leher had the short shoot, ended up winning. I think that if Chris had his time again, he probably would have given it to Georgia or Kate, which just seems to be this. I mean, I personally...
Jean Leher had that short shoot, and that's kind of what put her in touch on that final run, because she'd lost some ground, used the short shoot, got back in touch, and then lit the afterburners to drop the rest and take the win.
It does seem that there's almost
Taylor
like
Brown had a short shoot, things might have worked out slightly differently.
Exactly. Like there's only
coulda.
I feel like they need to, like the short shoot. Again, I see the comments online. We'll talk about comments online in a bit, but I really feel like they need, you either give it to your first athlete or you give it to an athlete a bit further back. There seem to be the only two use cases for it. I feel like they need to do something with it to make it a bit more dynamic. I don't know what that is, but because it does, I just feel like it's a great. I like the short shoot a lot. I like the impact that it has on the racing, but I just feel like maybe they need to refine the execution a little bit. Maybe it is a case of I don't know how you do it, right? Like maybe I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the solution is, but it did seem a bit like I kind of wish Georgia had it or Kate had it, like because I then think we would have seen a much.
I mean, that's kind of the beauty of
There's
the
that
format
element, right?
and management, because if in every single race it shook out that exactly the right athlete had the short shoot at that time, you wouldn't have that double drama dynamic, which is the managers making the choices and the athletes executing. You would just you'd have like whatever the race format was, making decisions. The race itself would make decisions over who got the short shoot. And that would probably, if it was just the race making the decision, you would always give it to the athlete who was leading. the athlete who was, at the front.
Which is not what I want, though. I think that's kind of my point. I don't want it to automatically
Exactly.
go.
You don't want that. You want these post-race discussions. You want to be able to say,
But I
fucking
feel
hell,
like
he
most
made
of
the
the
wrong
managers,
decision, didn't he?
but I think that's the thing. Most of the managers do just sort of do that, right? Like I actually think if you look at like, Chris this weekend, and I mean, I gave it to Henry too back, and then it just didn't go badly. But like I do seem like it does often just seem to be like, we'll just give it to the person in first. Like I guess what I'm trying to say is I wish there was more nuance to like I wish there was more to how the managers could use it rather than because it's still quite a simple basic concept, right? Like, and I don't know what it is. Maybe there's I don't again I'm not sure what it is because I agree with you, right? Like I think we need to be able to have the discussion. I just feel like it's almost a bit lazy isn't the right word, but it's okay. Give it to the person leading. We'll give it to the athletes who have in the front pack. We'll give it to them.
Yeah, I mean, look, giving it to Cassandra Bergeron on with all data leading up to this race
We'd suggest it's the
was
right
the
thing.
correct decision.
Mm,
You know, she Olympic gold medalist. The ground she made up in that mixed team relay,
was ridiculous.
really, it was astounding. So going into this race, you know, you're right. Are you saying it would be more interesting if there was other factors coming in that made them give it in
No,
certain directions?
I think what I'm more talking about is how the managers use it, right? Like I don't think it's. I mean, again, I'm struggling to verbalize what I mean, but with the exception of Chris, and like I just feel like your podium race, like Tim Don, non-Stanford, who's it's obviously her first season doing it, and Parker Spence, I think, is the American guy. Um, don't just give it to the person in the front pack all the time. Like I think we need to have more buy-in from all the managers that it isn't just a case of everybody gives it to their lead and racer, right? Like that's kind of where I think that if we had have had Jean Leher, Georgia Taylor, and Kate Wolf doing their thing, the race still would have been fantastic, right? But I guess the problem is if they had done something else with it, we probably wouldn't have seen it. Like we didn't see Cassandra take it, so it didn't really impact. I don't know what I'm
No,
trying to
no.
say.
If there was a rule in place that said that you couldn't give it to your leading athlete, you had to give it to try and affect the race further down, all of that in this instance would have happened off camera and
Yeah,
it would have been irrelevant.
exactly. I don't know. I just feel like it does become it's almost like a bit basic, I suppose, is maybe what I'm struggling with a little bit. It's like, oh, of course of course you give it to the person in front. Like, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's a whole other thing. But
It must
yeah,
be gutting though, when you're racing with somebody, they're slightly off the back, they've got a short shoot coming up. It must be just, I mean, can you imagine the mental games you play in a race anyway, let alone when you know someone can take a fucking shortcut that you can't take?
it's why we see them killing themselves to get them, right? Like that you really do
Yeah.
see them absolutely murdering themselves to try to get the short. Like they matter.
A
It's,
lot of
it,
people don't like the short shoots.
I know.
I kind of do.
I've seen
I
the
do.
comments. I like them. I like them a lot. I think it's again, it makes those other individual, the fastest swim, the fastest bike, it makes it important because there's a consequence for not doing it. And we see, like I said, Victoria Lopez in the women's, I think it was Victoria Lopez, ended up being, I think she might have even got eliminated. Like she absolutely buried herself to get that first short shoot and then suffered for it later. Like that's what I mean. That adds this, and again, that's an athlete who might not have featured throughout the rest of the race, but had that moment at the start. Because again, I think one of the struggles we always have with triathlon broadcasts, and this is I think Supertri do an exceptional job. Like they are really excellent at broadcasting, but you do tend to only see the front athletes. Like we do struggle to tell that story of the athlete coming through or what is happening a bit behind. And I understand with Supertri, it's such a short race, but yeah, it just gives athletes different times to shine. But Cliff Notes, women's race, good. Tim Enjoy, Gian Leher win, Georgia Taylor Brown
Jan
second,
Laher won, Georgia Taylor Brown in second, Kate Woff in third, Taylor Spivey in fourth, and Leono Perio in fifth.
with Beth Potter, MIA.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. But I mean, that is that's your
Standard.
Olympic fatigue, isn't it? You hear that, Kristian? That's what's meant to happen, motherfucker.
Hey, Alex and Hayden, mate, we're going to talk about them
Yeah.
too because that's the contrast. I mean, it is, right? It's one of those interesting factors. Some athletes come out of the Olympics. Let's use Cassandra again. I don't know, but Cassandra's won a gold medal in France. I imagine she's been very busy. Her life has changed. And she's coming to this and she's not been where she normally is.
If I'd won an Olympic gold medal in my home nation and then done amazingly well, I'd have been on the piss. for the last 2 weeks, I
Maybe
think.
she has been. Who knows?
Yeah. No, who knows?
Um, but yeah, the women's race, very, very good. But then we had the men's race. And the men's race, mate, was there's a few bits and pieces happening in this men's race. It was while it was a bit of a repeat of what we saw in Paris, it was a fascinating event. Now, did you see more of the men's race? Have you seen much of this one?
I saw the last stage.
Well, look, I think that the main thing to talk about with the men's race, obviously, Alex Yee won the race. Hayden Wild came second. Third place was Tim Hellwig, I
No,
believe.
third place was Dorian Connex.
During Connex, I
Fourth
was
place
wrong.
was Tim Hellwig.
It's
Fifth
close.
place was Vincent Louis.
Vincent Louis. Same thing. We saw Vince and Hayden, that team thing I was talking about in the women's race. Same thing again. We saw Vince and Hayden doing work together as a team. It was
Yeah.
always just the Crown Racing guys with twos and everyone else had ones or twos.
I saw
Um,
Hayden's interview afterwards, and he was like, the only person working with me is Vince Louis. And he was like, he's in my team. I don't care if he doesn't work, but no one else was working. And I think he find it quite
should we
frustrating.
should we get straight into the frustration? Because I think it is definitely
Yeah.
the thing that is getting a lot of coverage this week, and that is the Alex Yee victory, where he literally, with about a couple hundred meters to go, much like in Paris, passed Hayden. Hayden couldn't answer. Hayden tried to
When
answer.
he lit those afterburners, it was very Paris-esque, wasn't
Yeah.
it? They looked like they were both on the limit, running with Alex slightly behind, and then he's just got this ability to go, nah, I've got another gear, and my other gear is a lot faster than yours.
Yeah, like I think that unlike Paris, and again, talking to the quality of the broadcast, he's just so much closer to the athletes in this race. You saw the face, like you could see Hayden's face while this was happening. You could see the frustration and the fuck and the I'm already redlining. I've got to go to another level. And then we saw Alex celebrate his win with the arm crossing, which some people are saying is a football thing. I don't really care what it is, to be
No,
honest.
no.
We saw Hayden not like the celebration, and then that interview with Hayden coming out and throwing a fair bit of shade, to be honest, at some of the other competitors. And my word, has the response online been fascinating?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting, your celebration's your celebration. Yeah, I don't see any problem. Alex Yee had his way of celebrating in this moment. It's not like he wasn't turning to Hayden and rubbing it in his face. He was just having his moment of celebration, and Hayden was finishing behind him. If that's what he chooses to do, that's what he chooses to do. It wouldn't be my form of celebrating, but I'm a different human being.
Yeah, I really like this. I think that it's good to see the amount of coverage this is getting, not just in triathlon for
Totally.
once, but some mainstream actual media as a result of this. And I really get a bit frustrated when I see I guess the vitriol, or the like, this isn't in the spirit of like, we need to, again, people need to take off their age group hat and stop thinking about how they participate in triathlons and get to the finish. And there's this great sense of achievement. And like, I'm so happy I did this thing.
Yeah, we're
Which
all
is a
mates together.
fantastic, fantastic personal pursuit. And anybody who does that, I'm so happy for you. But you aren't racing for prize money. You aren't, racing for sponsor bonuses. You don't know the
Was it sheep
frustration.
station? Sheep station, not
Yeah,
racing for sheep
you're not
station.
racing for shit. These guys are. Like, these guys have a lot on the line. And to be honest, looking at everything, I actually think the one that comes off looking a bit bad is Hayden. I thought there was, as you said, it wasn't like Alex turned around and belittled him. It wasn't like Alex did anything to Hayden. Hayden, I think, is the one who came off looking a little bit shit, to be honest. He looked like, but I understand why, because
But it was just in the moment. It was
of
just in the
course,
moment.
which I love. I
And
love the emotion of it.
uh,
Exactly.
this vitriol, this online vitriol that I've seen, the comments, you shouldn't behave like that. Now, look, one thing I'm going to say is going to counteract the other slightly, because if you're of the opinion that athletes shouldn't behave like this and everybody should be from the same very sporting mold in that moment when they cross the line, then you are going to neutralize and vanillify the sport. And what we want is a range of athletes who behave in a range of ways that stimulate different emotions in different people, so that we've got a broad, interested, engaged, and sort of conversational fan base. So everybody's talking to each other saying, well, I really like this guy, I like the way he behaves, or I really like this lady and the way she behaves. I love this. When he did that, that didn't make me very happy. So kind of that's what we want from a sport. If everyone's the same, you don't get that. You don't get that engagement. You don't get that. But again, I'm saying all these comments are engagement.
Yeah.
They are, they are stimulating those responses in people. But what I think takes it too far is when people are saying you shouldn't be doing that. That is
It's
not what you should be
bad
doing.
sportsmanship. That's where I'm
Bad
like,
sportsmanship. Yeah. I think it's more just like, because look, for me, I wouldn't do a celebration like that. I didn't think in that moment, oh, you look amazing. But I love the fact that we've got different characters in the sport who do different things and behave in different ways. I love the fact that Hayden crossed the line. He's like, and
shows the frustration.
yeah, doing that face thing.
This
Because
is it
then
for
you've
me.
got
Yeah.
people in Hayden's camp, people in Alex's camp, and it's an interesting
Well,
conversation to have. What it shouldn't be is a vitriolic conversation to have.
one of the things I do get a bit sick of is the whole, oh, they're just really good mates. They're just really good mates. Or they're just, yeah, they are. Okay. But the difference is the one that when that gun goes, they want to fucking kill each other, mate. Like
Yeah,
they are
yeah.
out there to destroy the other one. And I feel like what we've seen is, I feel like the reason we saw Hayden have the reaction that he did is because of that ongoing narrative where Hayden just can't beat Alex Yee. He he everything he does, and we've heard about the efforts that Hayden has gone to. Like, I can't remember what movie. I think is it Gladiator, and they're like, "How would you beat that man?" He's like, with it, while he sleeps with a stick. Like Hayden Wild cannot beat Alex Yee on the run. It ain't happening. I cannot, like, there is no pathway at the moment to victory for Hayden if it comes down to a run battle. And I think that we saw that it's that frustration because Hayden's like, for fuck's sake, every time of course you'd be frustrated. I know that if I'm trying to solve something,
Yeah.
I play these games that are like Elden Ring, right? It's a game and they're meant to be brutally hard. And you might fight the same boss 100 fucking times. And I tell you, if I haven't smashed a controller once, because I'm just like, for fuck's sake, I can't do. Imagine doing that, except it's actually a race that goes for an hour. And at the end of that hour, you're leading the thing, and then you get beaten by the same person the same way in the same like last 10 seconds of every race. You would be fucking ropeable. And I
And it's a
love that we see
very,
it.
very simple train of thought that sees that frustration in that moment, that high intensity moment as they cross the finish line and thinks, aren't they meant to be mates?
Yeah.
This ain't like, it ain't even like, I mean, if you and me were racing and one of us won, I'd be frustrated, but it ain't even that.
Mm.
This is far and above that. This ain't going bowling with your mates.
I know that
This is,
even something simple like, let's take it back a bit, when we were in Paris and we had the bet about the winners. Like,
yeah,
we're good friends, but you were fucking roasting me when you thought Hayden had that thing, and I'm not there
yeah,
going, oh,
yeah,
I thought we were mates. Like, what's he doing? Like,
yeah,
the fact that they can in the moment have that intensity and that sort of confrontation, I guess you want to call it. And Hayden can say this stuff. I like that he came out and called out people for not pulling a turn. It's good.
totally.
You should do that. This is something that we've seen a lot of athletes do in the past. Chris McCormack was famous for calling out people for not doing the work
Or
and things like that.
Brownlee, the way Brownlee races.
But
But
then
not everyone, but this is the thing. Triathlon is very guilty of as soon as someone does something and it's successful, going, well, everybody should do that. And then as soon as they do something else, everybody should do that. People are different. People behave in different ways and stimulate different reactions out of different people.
even let's take away the reaction thing. Triathlon is swim, bike, run. It isn't be the best swimmer, be the best biker, be the best runner. It is navigating through the race to get to the finish line first. People criticizing Alex for not pulling a turn. Fuck that. Fuck that. If that's his strategy, which is clearly working, do it every time, Alex Yee. Do it every time until somebody comes up with a way that doesn't allow you to
Do it
do it.
every time until it doesn't work anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. And
Right.
people going, oh, he doesn't take his turn. Fuck off. I just find it such a basic, primitive, goddamn like
Yeah.
pylon.
Yeah.
This,
Yeah.
you
And,
know what?
and it's up to Hayden to
Yes,
find a way to
exactly.
crack that code. Not to, I mean, this isn't denigrating Hayward?
Haywood? Who's
Hey,
Haywood? Another new
Hayward's my
nickname.
Hayward's
Another
my
new
mate I'm
nickname for
going
the
to
show.
Prague with. No, he's my friend I'm going to Prague with this weekend. This is
Haywood.
Hayward. Hayden's prerogative. He's welcome to call it out. He's welcome to complain about it. But from my perspective, he's got no
Come up with a solution.
obligation to
And
to take
here's
a turn.
and here's the thing, mate. How much more excited are you about Chicago this weekend after that? Like,
Oh,
that's the thing, right?
totally.
Oh man, I cannot wait for these. I like the fact that you can off the course. be good friends. Like I think the mutual respect amongst competitors is super important. Things shouldn't become personal. But in that arena, fucking you want to kill each other. Like I want them to really want to fucking beat each other. So I loved it, mate. I really I just yeah, I do find it a little bit bewildering just to see the outrage a little bit. But you're right. I think it's all good engagement. Um, Alex is not a bad
Yeah, yeah.
sportsman. Alex is a really good guy. Um,
Yeah,
I, I
as long as it is just engagement and conversation around the sport rather than a genuine belief from people that people should not behave in certain ways. Because, every successful sport has got athletes in it that have character and there's something interesting about them and differentiates them so that you can discuss it down the pub after you've seen them do
I
it.
love the thought that Alex Yee now becomes like a WWE villain. Like this is his villain. This is his villain arc where suddenly he just goes on and becomes like the biggest prick. I'd love that for him. I think it'd be funny.
He
But
turns
yeah.
heel.
So currently, I think that do you have any of the like do you have the team standings and things like that for Super Try or
Yeah, I've just closed it all. Two
okay.
seconds
That's right, because I
because
just thought
I've got
we know that the season leaders, Alex Yee winning the men's, Hayne won second. So we had first and second place there. Leo Berger wasn't racing; he was away to wedding, but we saw all the Olympic men feature compared to in the women's race where we didn't see the Olympic women feature. I find that like just something worth noting. But so we have in the women's race, Gian Hayes leading the series, Georgia Tabrown second, Kate Woff third. In the teams, which is obviously the big focus this year. Now, I believe I know that Crown Racing are in first place. I believe Podium Racing is in second, and is Brownlee Racing in third with Stars and Stripes fourth. Is that correct?
Podium Racing is in first place with 82 points. Crown
Really?
Racing is in second with 81 points. Brownlee Racing is in
It's changed.
third with 73 points. And Stars and Stripes Racing is in fourth with 46 points.
It's changed after because on the broadcast I had Crown Racing in the lead, so something must have changed afterwards. Uh,
Yeah. I
it's
mean,
good.
obviously, the men's and women's just reflects the finishing order because we've only had one race so far.
I did find it funny listening to the pre-race interviews with some of the managers, and non-Stanford kept going on about because we're British, we're best. Like, and I'm like, that's a very weird line to take in a team that has Italians and other non-Brits on the team. And then Stars and Stripes, what's his Parker Spencer? I love Americans that have two first names. Just kept going on about because we're in America, we love to be the underdog. And I'm thinking, are Americans ever comfortable being the underdog? I always thought they were like, no, we are the biggest, we are the best. I do like the fact that there's no animals. I think the Brownlee kit is hideously plain and boring. It's just a big blue nothing. I really like the podium one. I really like the Stars and Stripes one. The Crown Race one's all right, but
Thank God there's no animals,
God,
eh?
there's no fucking animals. But I mean,
Yeah.
Super Try is back, and I say this every time. If you guys are your traditional, I only like long course because that's what I do. Just give it a chance. You will not regret it. It is such entertaining racing. It is unlike anything we've seen, and these guys absolutely bury themselves. So
Oh, they
this
kill
weekend,
it. They were running like what were they running like
2:30 pace or
ridiculous
something, right?
pace kilometers come the end, eh?
Yeah,
Like
look,
sub 3 minute kilometers come the end.
exactly. And as I said, it is happening this weekend again in Chicago. Check out the Super Try channels. Again, you'll find all you need. They make it very easy to follow their racing too. So Super Try this weekend in Chicago. I am excited again. I do like that we got back-to-back weekends of racing. We've got Canada happening this weekend where Lionel's racing. We'll see. And James Bale. I think that's everything for this week. So if
Yeah.
people want to find out more, where do they go?
If you want to support the show, jump on at patreon.com/talking triathlon. If you want to follow Tim, he's at T14 on Insta, and I'm at bale.james85 on Insta. Find us across all social networks at Talking Triathlon on Instagram and at Talk Triathlon on Twitter. You can join the Patreon group, get access to the monthly bonus episode and the social group and all of that, and this famous WhatsApp group that keeps us both entertained week in, week out.
Yeah, again, also thanks to so many views on the last few YouTube videos and some really,
Yeah,
really
it's
great
mental, isn't it?
conversations. So I really appreciate you guys because I do say if you want to give us your thoughts, your predictions, tell us. I mean, don't come at us, but yeah, YouTube's a really good place to do it. So again, everyone who's subscribed to that channel, thank you so much. But James, enjoy Prague this weekend with your training, and I'm sure you'll be watching Super Try Chicago. I'll see you on that WhatsApp group, and guys, we'll talk to you next week.
Cheerio.